Throughout the course of the show, I've reviewed a lot of material and also discussed several topics. But I'm not a genius. I'm prone to making mistakes, and I've done that a lot on this show over the past 3 years. So today, we're going to look at 8 of those mistakes. Yeah, I totally didn't do this because I wanted to put off doing the review of Try Decision or anything. So with all that said, let's begin. Number 8. My constant mispronunciations. This one's really low on the list because a lot of the stuff I do pronounce wrong are usually the names of fictional characters, aka not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, especially when they are the only character with that name in the series, but it's still a flaw I've noticed. I pronounced Kakuin as Kakyoin or Kakuin in my JoJo video, I pronounced Nagisa as Nagisa, and I pronounced the names of several Pokemon wrong on numerous occasions. Again, these really aren't a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but I'd be lying if I said I never did this on my show. That being said, I will try and work on this in the future. Number 7. Matt and Ty's character arc didn't end in the first movie. This is something I tried to correct in the review, but it's still there. I said in my review of Reunion that Matt and Ty showcased that they were worthy of their crest by the end of the movie, and implied that it ended there. And while I would have liked to see that, especially since there are 9 main characters over the course of these 6 movies, the truth of it is, they didn't showcase they were worthy. At all. In fact, as I saw with the second movie on my recent rewatch, they didn't even try to really advance their arc, despite giving them screen time about it. They just got pissy at each other, and that was it. Yeah, because that was totally needed in that fucking movie. I still gotta put that video out, don't I? Then again, I have to ask, why not end it in the first movie? The role in the second movie is just to get pissy at each other and or waste time in a movie where they aren't even the main fucking focus, so why not wrap up this bit in the film where they were the main focus, and then have their roles in the later movies be a small one, where they help out the other members of the Digidestin who aren't given the main focus, come up with a way to stop the infected Digimon threat. Especially since in the later movies the main focus is on, or at least it's supposed to be, but whatever, 2 other members of the Digidestined. In other words, characters that aren't Matt and Ty. Either way, I still gave off misinformation in that review, and I apologize for that. Still don't like the character arc, though. And yes, I will be working on the Decision review soon. Number 6. Fighting types do neutral damage to fire types. This is something that I really should have worded better, especially since I'm supposed to know shit about Pokemon. But in my review of I Choose You, I stated that Aura Sphere, a fighting type move, wouldn't do all that much damage to Entei, a fire type. Yeah, so, who wants my Pokemon nerd card? Pretty sure people want to tear it apart anyway, since I bashed in the 20th movie, but still. See, fighting type attacks do neutral damage to a fire type. What I implied was that it wasn't very effective, which, well, is downright incorrect. But why do I count this as a poorly worded bit instead of being generally wrong, you might be asking? Because that line was meant to segue to my next bit in the review, where I bring up that the Lucario Sorrel had Bone Rush, a ground-type move in its arsenal as shown later in the movie. Yet it didn't use it in the fight. So either they learned it off screen, or Sorrel was a dumbass when fighting Entei. Either way, doesn't exactly paint a good picture of this film. But yeah, I could have added that it does neutral damage in the script, but I didn't, so here we are. And for those curious if my opinion has changed on the 20th movie, it has not. I still consider it my second least favorite Pokemon film. And from what I've seen of the trailer for the next movie, it might have some serious competition for that second worst slot. But we'll see when it comes out. Until then, let's move on. Number 5. Violence Jack Evil Town is the first arc, not a sequel to Harem Bomber. Thank you, KSA Warrior, for informing me about this, since I was unable to find the early chapters of the series, and now I feel like an idiot for not knowing about this sooner. So in my review of the Violence Jack trilogy, I implied that Evil Town was a sequel to Harem Bomber since it was the second film in the trilogy. And I was wrong. It's actually the origin/first arc of the series. And looking back on it, it does make a lot of sense to have that be the starting point since Jack is weak in that film, but gets gradually stronger as the series goes on. Though it's kind of weird that he changes his morality a bit by Harem Bomber, but that's a whole nother issue. The point is, I still fucked up the detail. That being said, I'm still confused why they released it like this. If Evil Town was the first arc, why release it in the middle of the fucking trilogy? It's like releasing A New Hope, and instead of releasing The Empire Strikes Back next, you release one of the prequel movies instead. Yeah, kind of jarring now, isn't it? Either way, I should have done more research on this topic. Still though, with Devilman Crybaby recently released, does that mean we may get a Violence Jack reboot in the future? Food for thought. Number 4. Hyping up the Alvarez Empire video. Oh, this was a bad idea. So last year I made a couple of videos on the series Fairy Tail. The reason being that I was planning on doing a review of the final arc later in the year, and 2 of my friends had offered to turn this into a group review, and I started to hype that up. here's where things go off the rails. Despite waiting on their notes and reminding them numerous times, they never gave me their notes and the review never happened. But, and I need to make this clear, it was not because they didn't want to. Fact is, they have their own lives outside of YouTube to deal with, and life likely got too busy for them to write notes at the time. And as the months went on, it wasn't really brought up again by any of us, which I take full responsibility for, and result being the project just fading away. I may still do a review of Fairy Tail's final arc in the future, largely because the writing makes Bleach's final arc look like fucking Shakespeare by comparison, but for now, it's not coming out. I apologize for that, and I will try and not pull that shit in the future unless the project is close to being done. And now you know why I don't do many crossovers nowadays. Number 3, my Jirachi Wishmaker video. If you were to ask me what review of mine I regret the most, it would probably be the one where I try to be more ambitious with the series. And yeah, for the sake of this, I'm gonna go out of character on this one. Oh, right, I usually wear glasses in real life, and this outfit is kind of similar to what I wear in real life. So this doesn't really work now, does it? Maybe I should wrap myself up in a bath towel to make the differences better. Nah, that joke is too easy even for me. So yeah, back to the Jirachi video. While I don't regret trying out these new concepts for the show, in fact I was originally planning on bringing back Violet Lantern David to review Pokemon the movie White before realizing that the two films are barely different, so there would be no point to another video on the subject, I feel that it could have been better executed looking back on it. While I'm not opposed to storyline bits, I can understand why people don't like it, and I can also understand that these bits in the review took up too much screen time when compared to the review itself. As for the review itself, I could have done a much better job elaborating on my points and wording myself better. I still think the movie is overall mediocre, but I think I could have done a much better job conveying my thoughts on it. If you like that video, great, more power to you. But for me, I could have done a better job looking back on it now, and if you were to ask me which review of mine I would remake, it would be this one. Still though, given recent circumstances in the series, it would be interesting to see how Indigo David would react to the main universe David's recent marriage. But that's for another time. Alright, time to get back in character. Number 2, Jack did go back to try and save Ash/May. These final 2 mistakes share the same issue of me not paying attention, but this was the lesser of 2 evils, since unlike my number 1, I was able to notice this mistake while uploading and corrected it in the description. Still though, in my co-op review on the 9th Pokemon movie, I stated that the Pokemon Ranger character, Jack, didn't even try to go back and save Ash/May in the temple as it was falling apart, but one look at the movie would tell you that he did go back to try and save them. Yeah, whoops. This was something I didn't see on my first watch or when editing the review, and I apologize for not catching it until it was too late. Do I regret making that review? Hell no, I still had fun making it, and I also had fun building up to the 2 characters meeting, even if one of the reviews had to be unlisted for copyright reasons. Thanks a lot. But I still should have caught that mistake sooner and corrected it before the video went up. So yeah, that's all I had to say on that one. So let's wrap this list up with the final entry. Number 1. Made in Heaven did have a weakness. Oh boy, I can be a dumbass sometimes. So in my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3, Stardust Crusaders, I stated that the Part 6 stand Made in Heaven didn't have a weakness. And I was wrong. Very wrong. And funnily enough, this bit wasn't even in the fucking script. This was an off-the-cuff remark I left in because I thought it would be funny. Well, the joke's on me, it seems, because as many people have rightfully pointed out in the comments section, Made in Heaven did have a weakness in Part 6. See, in the final few chapters of Part 6, aka Stone Ocean, Made in Heaven was defeated by a stand previously seen in the parts hidden ability, and this ability allowed to immobilize Made in Heaven stand user and ultimately kill him, killing the stand as well. Sure, it's absolutely fucking stupid that they introduced this hidden ability near the end of the series, and it stops an OP stand, but it is a weakness at the end of the day. You know what's even worse about this? I recall reading that finale months prior to the JoJo review going up, and yet I still forgot about that when putting the review together. That being said, I'm still not a fan of Stone Ocean. However, my dislike of a series is no excuse for missing a detail like that, especially when I knew about it months prior. So that concludes this list. I hope you enjoyed it, and next time we meet, I'll review the second film in the Tri-series. See you then!